Hello, good day everyone. Sir Kevin here again, and welcome to another session for our project management class. And today we'll be discussing two chapters, and that's what we've mentioned about the marathon in the past. So, first lesson is about lesson number 9. That's variable for success, and lesson number 10 is working with executives. Okay, so um, without further ado, let's move on with our discussion, and let's begin with the variable for success. What factors affecting the success of a project? No, it has been given that we have three constraints or elements of a project wherein we are maximizing the resource of time, and we are maximizing our resources. That might be your human resources and your technical resources. And lastly is the scope and the limitations. So that will be your constraints. But what other intangible things are vital in determining the success of a project? And today we'll be discussing variables for success. Okay, so project managers cannot succeed unless the project managers is willing to employ the systems the system's approach to project management by analyzing those variables that leads to success and failure. So yes, you have that constraints, the time, the resources, and the scope. However, there are other variables affecting the success of a project. This chapter briefly discusses the do's and don'ts of a project management, and it provides a skeleton checklist of key success variables. So we have four topics to consider in this chapter, and one of which is the predicting project success. How will you predict project success? At the very least, um, prediction might not go on your favor. No, uh, we'll discuss that later about how can we predict that and what factors may affect the success. And then project management effectiveness, the expectation within a project team, the project manager, and the top management. And then lastly is what we call the force field analysis. So let's begin with predicting the project success. So uh, the project success is often measured by the actions of three groups. So uh, there are three key variables in predicting a project success, and they are mainly enumerated there. So first is the project manager and the team. So that's the project team, the whole group. No? So it depends on the action of this group or this team. And then the parent organization. Remember, you are still under one organization, and you're just tasked to create that project or to implement that project. And lastly is the customer's organization or the client's organization. That might be the outside organization or the third party of the project. And there are certain actions that the project manager and team can take in order to stimulate project. What are those actions that the project team can stimulate to for you to be able to uh, make that a successful one? So again, you cannot really predict it, but you are putting something to stimulate that success. So ibig sabihin, these are actions that may lead to success. So to make things clear, no? So the project manager and the team's action to stimulate project success includes this. No, so I'll be running down the actions. So insist on the right to select key project team members. So that's the role of a project manager. So you'll be picking your own project team. Then select key team members with proven track records. So that's organizing and staffing. Develop commitment and sense of mission from the outset. Then seek sufficient authority and projected organizational form. Coordinate and maintain a good relationship with client, parent, and team. So it's not just within the team, but also with the parent organization and then the client organization. And then seek to enhance the public image of the project. Of course, that's also one that's part of marketing. And then Have key team members assist in decision making and problem solving. That's empowering, no? And then develop realistic cost schedule and performance estimates and goals. Have backup strategies in anticipation of potential problems. Then provide a team structure that is appropriate yet flexible and flat. Then go beyond formal authority to maximize influence over people and key decisions, and employ a workable set of project planning and control tools, as well as avoid over reliance on over reliance on one type of control tool. So there should be other implementing tools or controlling tools. Then stress the importance of meeting cost, schedule, and performance goals. Give priority to achieving the mission of function and the end item. And then keep changes under control and seek to find ways on assuring job security for effective project team members. So that means these enumerated actions encompasses different components and fields of management. So it's part of the human resources. How do you manage and lead the human resources? Controlling. What are your tools, your guidelines, and your policies? And then what are how do you handle clients, how do you communicate with your parent organization. So it nearly includes nearly everything. Okay, so those are actions that affects or stimulate the project success. So sa madaling salita, it's the success of the project team, no? So that contributes to the success of the project team. And then, what are those things, no? Let's talk about the things or the variables that affects or stimulate success coming from the parent organization. There will be success in the project if your parent organization has that willingness to coordinate efforts, and then a willingness to maintain structural flexibility, and then a willingness to adapt to the change, effective strategic planning, rapport maintenance, and then proper emphasis on past experience, external buffering, and then prompt and accurate communication, enthusiastic support. Yun, this is one of the most important thing in management. It's you are giving enthusiastic support, giving them motivation, and also the trust and empowerment. No, that's an intangible one. Then identification to all concerned parties that the project does in fact contribute to parents' capability. So, ibig sabihin, you will recognize as a parent organization that what they have done affects greatly to the situation or the current standing of the organization. So, ibig sabihin, it's recognition, the crediting of the efforts. No? So we have discussed two. First is what are the actions that stimulates success. So the second variable is about the parent organization, because we have three parties in the success of the organization. So first, the team and the project manager, and then the parent organization giving support. Okay, so let's talk about the client organization variables. So what are those variables or factors, no? uh, coming from the client organization that helps, no, in the achievement of success? Of course, that's also one, that there's a willingness to coordinate efforts. Of course, if they will be your clients, no? They should coordinate what do they want, what do they need, and the likes. Then rapport maintenance, no? So there's a good relationship, working relationship with you. Then establish of reasonable and specific goals and criteria. That's communi- uh, communi- communicable ideas, and then well-established procedure for changes. No? And then prompt and accurate communications, commitment of client resources. No? So if they can lend you that, no, so that might be a good thing. And minimizing red tape, no, providing sufficient authority to the client contact, especially for decision make, making. So you see that there are several actions affecting the success, and greatly and vastly it is affected by the team, of course. But there are also other parties affecting affecting the whole um, project success. Ibig sabihin, it's composed of different layers. No? Okay? So, when you combine this relevant action among the variables, no, what will happen? When staffing off in project management, plan to go all the way. So, you recognize authority conflicts resolved, and then recognize change impact, no, be a change agent. So, that happens. No? Because there's a good relationship among those parties, no, so staffing of the project management will go all the way, and then match the right people with the right job. That's the right staffing, no, so coming from the parent organization and the top management, no system is better than people who implement it. So uh, you source out the right people, and with the right skills and expertise. Okay, so allow adequate time and effort for laying out the project groundwork and defining work. So the work will be breakdown, magkakaroon ng breakdown ng work, so makikita nila. And then network planning, dahil you communicate with parties, so you can able to see, no, how it flows, no. Okay, then ensure the work packages are the proper size, so manageable with organizational accountability, realistic in terms of effort and time, and then establish and use planning and control systems, as the focal point of the project. No? So project implementation. So know where you're going. So clear are the objectives are clear coming from the parent organization. No, know when you've gotten there. So when you're there, so uh, that's uh, that's when you measure the success of the organization. Okay, and then the project as well. So be sure information flow is realistic. That's important. No, when you combine all of those relevant actions among those variables, and be willing to replan, no, contingencies, because contingencies happens every time. So everything might not go on your favor, so be ready for plan B and plan C. So tie together responsibility, performance, and rewards. Okay, so that's the MBO, management by objectives. That's their approach. Then key to motivation and productivity. No? So when responsibility, performance, and rewards are tied together, that will be a good system. That's the management by objective na nabanggit. Then long before the project ends, plan for its end, that all projects comes to an end. So it's a truth that projects will be terminated in the future. However, did they did they achieve success, prior to that termination? That's the question. So you always see, no, you will always see your resources or oversee your resources. So you check on the disposition of personnel, the disposal of materials and other resources at the end of the project, and then transfer of knowledge, no, what's next, closing out work, no, okay, work orders, and customer contractual financial payments and reporting. So that's the end part of the project. Okay, so as what I've mentioned earlier, that a project will always come to an end. No? It's a short term, hindi siya system, hindi siya program. So project comes to an end. Having defined project success, we can now identify some of the major causes of the failure of project management. Okay? So when does the project manager failed, no, and even the team failed, and uh, what constitute that project termination for that failure? So selection of a concept that is not applicable. So when you pick a concept and it failed, that's the actual failure. Then selection of the wrong person as project manager. You see how important is this? We have highlighted this coming from our past discussions. And then upper management that is not supportive. You see, that's part of the variables and that those are part of our parties that constitute, no, or affecting the project success. And inadequately defined task, pag malabo, when things are vague, no, there are different interpretation, and it entails costs, it entails waste, it entails um, gun time, no. So when tasks are not defined well, and job duties or responsibility are not defined well, so maraming magiging magulo. And kapag magulong isang bagay, there are less orderly ang mga lugar at mga bagay, mga settings natin, it will take time for you to finish something. No, you know that, no? Misused management techniques, no? So that's the failure of management. And project termination that is not planned. That the project termination, of course, the project's objective is to have that success. And when you terminate the project, as I mentioned earlier, as you can see the last bullet, no, uh, yung malaking bullet, no. So long before the project ends, you should plan. And things if things are not going well, and the project termination is not planned, no, there's a failure in the management of the project, no. So ibig sabihin bigla na lang sinara, so there's a problem, no? So, a project termination, yun nga, kung naging successful siya, ay nakaplano. Okay? So, yung mga huling gagawin niya. Okay? So, project management effectiveness. So, project managers interact continually with upper levels, so at the top. So, okay, perhaps more than with the functional managers. Not only on the success of the project, but even in the career path, the project manager can depend on the working relationships and expectations established with upper level management. Okay, there are four key variables in measuring the effectiveness of dealing with upper level management, and the variables are credibility, priority, accessibility, and visibility. So that's how they promote and develop their project managers there. So credibility comes from being a sound decision maker. So um, the project manager has developed um, and made good decisions, and that gave the trust, no, to the top management. So it's normally based on experience in a variety of assignment, no. So that develops your credibility, so you're versatile, and it's refueled by the manager and status of his project, no. So ibig sabihin, refueled, ibig sabihin kinakargahan lagi, no? So you need to prove it from time to time, no. So making success visible to others increases credibility, no. So pinapakita mo that the project's getting successful. That's one way on achieving credibility, and to be believable, no, paniwalaan ka, no. So in fact, some of the people that you look onto, look up to as well, a product of their credibility, no. So give credit to others, no. um, they may return this favor. That's also part of the credibility. That's the law of karma. Okay, so priority is one of all those factors uh, that shows the project management effectiveness. So sell the specific importance of the project to the objectives of the total organization, and then stress the competitive aspect, of course. Then stress changes for success. Then secure testimonial support. No, so it's you're putting up a priority. No, yun yung pinaka idea nito. No? So anticipate priority problems and sell priority on one-to-one basis. Okay. Then also the accessibility of that project management. So accessibility involves the ability to communicate directly with the top management. So you are communicating what is happening, reporting to that matter. So show that your proposals are good for the total organization. So katulad ng isang activity natin about the time management, they are reporting, preparing reports. Okay, so weigh the facts carefully and explain the pros and cons. That's also being accessible. Then be logical and polished in your presentations. Become personally known by members of top management and create a desire in the customer for your abilities in your project and make curiosity work for you. No, particularly ito, become personally known by members of the top management because uh, pag nakilala ka, that means you have established something that's coming from the credibility and the priority one, no? So that's why um, you are the one to be called, no? Because you are known. Then the visibility. So be aware of the amount of visibility that you really need. Not that much. No? And then make a good impact by when presenting the project to the top management. Of course, the success of the project should sound and to show off. No? Okay, so makita nila, mapansin nila. Adapt a contrasting style of management when feasible and possible. Then use team members to help regulate the visibility you need, no? And conduct timely informational meetings with those who count, and use availability of publicity media, no? So it's optional, but at the very least, you need to show it off. Okay, so we also should talk about the expectations. So what should a project management environment looks like? No, a project a project obtains so many expectations. Of course, coming from the from the parent company or parent organization, and also from the client organization. So the project managers, team members, upper level management each have expectation of what their relationship should be with the other parties. So let us take a look of the expectation. What are those supposed to be expectations from the project managers, the project team to the top management, and vice versa, and also from other parties. So let's start with the expectation of the top management to the project managers. So the top management expects the project managers to assume total accountability for the success or failure of the project. So they need to provide results, then provide effective reports and information, provide minimum organizational disruption. Remember, a project ng kumukuha ka o nag-staff ka mula sa mga functional departments, no? So that's the idea there. So you need to minimize that disruption, no? And then present recommendation, not just alternatives. No? So that's the expectations of the top management, not just alternatives, no? They allow you, no? The top management is asking, no? Perhaps not all of the not not every time na ganon. Pero that's one of the expectations, no? So not just recommendations, but um, will offer alternatives to them, no? So have this capacity to handle most interpersonal problems, no? Kasi it's the interpersonal skills that matters dahil top management and then yung project team ang hinahandle mo, no? Demonstrate a self starting capacity. No? So you start by your own and demonstrate growth with each assignment. So natututo ka. No? So what are the expectations naman ng project manager sa top management? So ito yung isa sa mga key component or variable ng isang successful project, 'di ba? So there should be support. So the project manager is expecting the top management to assist in the problem solving process, no? So by coming up with ideas. So nakakatulong sila, if you remember our last topic with the conflicts, no? So they mediate kung sakali that their referral system. Provide proper direction and leadership. So, sila yan dahil nasa top management sila. They are on the strategic side. Provide a relaxed environment. interact informally with team members, yon paminsan, kahit paminsan-minsan. Stimulate the group process, no? There should do something or actions that will stimulate the group process, facilitate adoption of new members, reduce conflicts, defend the team against outside pressure. So yon, there will be pressures outside. So there should be the support, the motivation. Resist changes, act as the group spokesperson, and provide representation with higher management. Okay, so how do they support the project? Okay? So, what are the expectation naman ng project manager sa project team? So, anong gusto makita ng project manager sa kanyang team? Demonstrate membership self-development. So, they should be developmental. Demonstrate potential for innovate and creative behavior. So, they thirst for changes and development. And then, communicate effectively. So that's also one. Communication is a key. Then be committed to the project. So andun yung puso niya sa project. Demonstrate the capacity for conflict resolution and be result-oriented, be change-oriented, and interface effectively and with high morale. No? So that is why ngayong college, you're taught to communicate well. Oral communication and written communications are really important, especially if in the future you'll be managers. No? Okay, so what are the project team members' expectation naman sa um, project manager? So there should be a sense of belonging na you are a member of a team. No? So pinapa-feel ng project manager daw dapat na member sila ng team. That interest in the work itself, that the project manager has interest in the work, no? Dapat andun siya, no? Andun yung sarili niya, andun yung puso niya. Respect for the work being done. No? Of course, that's the human side of management, no? Protection from political infighting, yun. That hindi maiwasan sa isang organization that there will be uh, political things. And then job security and job continuity. So you need to let them be feel assured of their job. No? And then potential for career growth. No? Of course, if not, alis yan o mag iwanan yan yung project. Okay? So now, we need to talk about the force field analysis. So there's what we call forces in the field. Uh, so project managers live in a dynamic environment. So to tell you that fact that the environment is dynamic and there's a constant or rapid change. No? To operate effectively under these circumstances, the project manager must be able to diagnose the situation, no? Design alternatives that will give remedy and provide the necessary leadership so that these changes can be implemented and develop an atmosphere that helps the employee adapt readily to the changes. So that's the force field. So sabi niya, there are factors outside, no? And it's ever changing. And how do the um, project team and the project management is adapting to that change. Okay? So, what are the uses of this force field analysis? So, monitor the project team and measure potential deficiencies. So, tinitignan niya yung motion o yung activities ng project team and yung mga pagkukulang niya. Then, audit the project on ongoing basis. Involve project personnel which can be conducive to team building and measure the sensitivity of proposed changes. So again, is the force field. All of those energy, ang sabi nga, energy or motion na nangyayari sa project team ay pinag-aaralan niya. Okay? So, there are different areas of the force field. No? Kasali dyan yung personal drive, motivation, and leadership. As I've mentioned, all of those energy, all of those motion. So, it includes the personal drive. As I've made mention with the management function and staffing and organizing of team members in a project team, it's really important that you lead them and motivate them towards the achievement of the objective and their personal growth as well. Team motivation, management support, the functional support, technical expertise, no? Project objectives, financial resources, and client support and commitment. So that includes, no, but not limited to this, no, but these are the forces that or the motions and the energy that affects the whole project, no. So personal drive, motivation, and leadership were found to provide the strongest driving force. No? Of course, we're important in attributes of project managers and team members, and important in all project life cycle. No? And the lack of personal drive, motivation, leadership was found to result in a strong restraining force. No? So in a project, no, so you should manage them that your team members and all of the members in the team has that personal drive, the motivation, and the US project manager has that leadership to bind them and to influence them. No? So the main idea of that driving force, the force field analysis, studies the desire for accomplishment. So among any other thing, as made mentioned by this, uh, all of those factors, there should be accomplishment. No? So yun yung pinaka gist the gist of the goal of using the force field analysis, that there's a desire for accomplishment. So uh, you need to accomplish everything. You need to put everything at the top, no? If not at the very least, at the best position, no? Okay, so that's the end of the lesson 9. That's about the um, variables for success. How do you predict success, or what stimulate the success? So right now, let's talk about the lesson 10, the working with executives. If you are a project manager, you'll be really dealing with executives. So that's they are part of the top management. So how does that look, and what do they do? No? So working with the executives. So in any project management environment, project managers must continually interface with executive during both the planning and execution stage. Kasi ikaw bilang project manager ang taga-implement nila, no? Unless the project manager understand the executive's role and thought process, a poor working relationship will develop. So should you fail to have that communication and understand their roles and thoughts, no, ay magkakaroon ng problema sa project implementation. Okay? So we have what we call project sponsors. Who are those? No? According to Harold Kersner, for more than 2 decades, the traditional role of senior management, as far as project were concerned, has been to function as project sponsors. What do they mean by project sponsors? Project sponsors usually comes from the executive level and has the primary responsibility of maintaining executive client contact. So they directly um, have that contact with the clients. No? The sponsor ensures that the correct information from the contractor organization or the client organization is reaching executive in the customer organization. That there is no filtering of information from the contractor to the customer. And that someone as the executive levels is making sure that their customers' money is being spent wisely. No, kasi nga, sila kausap mo sa project, no? Sila yung nagpakontrata ng project. Okay? So how do they do that? So the role of the project sponsors takes on different dimension based on the life cycle phase of the project is in. During the planning and initiation phase of a project, the sponsor normally functions in an active role kasi nga it's on the planning side. Pero kapag hindi na sa planning, sa implementation side na, communication na lang halos ang isa sa mga role niya. So what are the activities of the project sponsor? Assisting the project manager in establishing the correct objectives for the project. So yun, they are helping the project manager understand the objectives of the project. And then providing the project manager with information of the environmental, political factors that could influence project execution. So nasa top sila, giving recommendations and giving inputs, establishing the priority for the project, no? And then with the executives and informing the project managers of established priority and reason for the priority. So explaining to them, providing guidance for the established policies and procedures by which, no, govern the to govern the project, and functioning as the executive client contact point katulad nung nabanggit kanina. So how do the top management begins the trust to the project manager? In the initial phase, gusto ng top management sila lang halos. Now, how do the project managers claim its roles as well as to uh, what you call this, lengthen its roles in the project, no? So or else it will be the top management na lang ang bahala, di ba? So parang parang wala na, no? Kung hindi magagawa ng project manager to, si executive na bahala, no? Sila na gagawa din ng legwork, no? So executives do not have time to function as sponsors on each and every project. No, nasa ano sila sa planning phase, yes, they are active with that, but in the implementation side si project manager na. So that's the one truth of how do you start the trust to your project manager, that they can function, no, na in your behalf, no, or they can function self-directed, no? Not all projects require sponsorship from the executive level, no? So you can establish the trust from the top management if you're the project manager, if and only if, no, um, you are yung mga nabanggit kanina, that you're credible, that you have that priority, the accessibility, then middle management is closer to where the work is being performed. So halos yung mga work ng project manager is within the middle management. And middle management is in a better position to provide advice on a certain risk because andito yung mga functional line managers. No? So, project personnel have easier access to middle managers because nga, nandun nga sila. No? So, take a look at this diagram. So, if this is at the top management, no? So, if these are under top management, with our priority project, you'll be having the sponsors, no? The sponsors. And ito yung mga objectives nila, ito yung mga gagawin nila, no? And then, ibababa sa project manager and the project team, no? As you can see, dito naman, no? So, for non-priority project, kahit wala nang sponsor sa top management, sa ibababa na lang yan sa middle management, and should there will be project managers. So, that's the difference, no? For priority projects and big projects, there might be a project sponsor there, but should the project, no, should the project so the project manager establish the trust kahit lesser na yung presence nung isang sponsor. Kumbaga, si sponsor ang nag-stoop down from the executive level pababa, siya yung naging bridge of the executive committee to the project team, no? So gumit na siya, no? Kumausap dun sa project manager. Okay? So when to seek help if you're the project manager, when do you seek help sa sponsor o dun sa top management? Okay? So if it is indicated as green light, no? So it's called green light. Work is progressing as planned. Sponsors involvement is not necessary. So green light means go, continue. No, so hindi ko kailangan ng tulong. No, if you're the project manager, if things are implemented well, there's no involvement of the sponsor that is necessary. There's no necessity to call for the top management or that sponsor. And then the yellow light, no? Yellow light, there's a potential problem and the sponsor is informed but no action by the sponsor is necessary at this time. So ibig sabihin, there's a problem but there's no urgency of the problem, no, or there might not be that big priority of that problem to that matter at that time period. And lastly, there's a red light, no, a problem exists that may affect time, cost, and the scope, as made mention of the constraints or the most important parts of a project. No, so if it is affecting the time, if it is affecting the cost and the scope or the quality of the project, they need the involvement of the sponsor or the time of the top management. Okay? So what's the role of the executive ba? No? So as the project manager management matures, executive decentralized project sponsorship to middle manager. So yung pinaka initial phase niya about planning, andun lahat sila, pero as the project matures at nagagawa na, ay nawawala na sila ng involvement. No? So what do they do now? They need just to establish a center for excellence in project management. No? So yung uh, ganun na yung system nila that they um, um, part of the planning phase, and sila na bahala empower the project manager, natututo yung mga project manager nagagawa using that green light nga, no? Establishing a project office or centralized project team management function, yung picking mo, no, picking mo nung tamang tao para dyan para hindi na masyadong maging involved sa lahat ng proseso. Okay? Creating project management career path, no, yung what should be next to them, no, should be planned. Then creating a mentorship program, then creating an organization committed to benchmarking best practices in project management, providing strategic information for risk management. No? Okay, so how do you manage those scope creep? No? Okay, so technically oriented team members are motivated not only by meeting specification but also by exceeding them. Unfortunately, exceeding specification can be quite costly. So yon, no? When you exceed with that specifications, it's costly. That's why you manage the scope, no? Scope of that creep, yung paggapang, no? Okay? So project managers must monitor scope creep and develop plans for controlling scope creep. Yung mga nabanggit natin dun sa dun sa contingency plans ng isang project. That's about chapter 2, no? The project sponsor must meet periodically with the project manager to review the scope baseline changes or unauthorized changes may occur and significant cost increases. So they need to talk about it and control it, what you will do, no? Okay? So the executive champion as part of their role. Executive champions are needed for those activities that requires implementation of change, such as a new corporate methodology for project management. Executive champions drive the implementation of project management down into the organization and accelerate the acceptance because their involvement implies executive level support. No? Kumbaga, they are championing what's their utmost role. No? It's because they are at the top, they should be driving the implementation of project managers. So sila yung drivers. Of course, there should be the executive support, executive level support. That's when you are called the executive champion. No. So how do you handle disagreements with these sponsors if you're the project manager? No? So there are several reasons why disagreements between project manager and the project sponsor will occur. So first reason why there's a disagreement. First, the project sponsors may not have sufficient technical knowledge. O yun, that's one truth, no? That if there's insufficiency of technical knowledge, no, and information to evaluate the risk of any potential decision, there will be disagreements. Number two, sponsors may be heavily burdened with other activities and unable to devote sufficient time. If you remember earlier, one of the thing that role of the executive is to support, and there will be disagreements again and other conflicts if the sponsors have not devoted time in his or her interest towards the project, no? And lastly, Sponsorship may be pushed down to a middle management level where the assigned sponsor may not have all the business knowledge necessary to make the best decision. Kumbaga, it started at the down level na ah, hindi alam nung mismong um, sponsor, no? Okay, so mas walang technical expertise ang sponsor where it comes to risk management and among other activities of a project sponsor. Recognizing that these conflicts can exist, companies are instituting executive steering committees or executive policies. No? Ito laging ginagawa sa project management and even in other fields of management. No? In even other areas of management. No? If there are problems, one control mechanism is the development of policies and procedures. If you cannot really control it, there should be control mechanism, and that is establishing policies, no, to resolve conflicts. So few conflicts ever make it the executive steering committee, but those that do are usually severe. So yung mga nakakaabot sa executive level ay mga mas mabibigat na mga problema. Okay? So we also have what we call the in-house representatives. If earlier we have the sponsors, we have a new form here. So in-house representatives are normally not situated in or near the contractor's project office because of the project's manager's need for some degree of privacy. No? So anong kailangan nila? In-house representatives. No? So si sponsor, yes, sila yung nag-oversee yung sa setup kanina. But the in-house representatives, eto parang agent, no? Agent. So the exception would be in the design phase of a construction project where it is imperative to design what the customer wants and to obtain quick decisions and approval. Most in-house representatives know where their authority begins and ends, and some companies demand that in-house representatives have a project office escort when touring the plant. No? So talking to functional employees or simply observing the testing and manufacturing the components. So they're taking a look of the project, no? So it might be coming from the client and sinugo niya sa project office or doon sa project location, and then tinitingnan niya nga, no? Kumbaga kanina, if that's the sponsor, that's coming from the parent organization. Now it's coming from the client organization. Okay? So that's how we handle with the executives, no? How we deal with the executives in project management. I hope that you learned and enjoyed this discussion as much as I did. Thank you very much for tuning in. See you on to the next one.